All right, welcome back to day, I think, 5. I have the truck pretty much sitted where I want it to be as far as this scenario goes. So I'm gonna play around with the wheelbase a little bit today, remove this fender flare on both sides, and see what I'm working with, because I also have to put a water tank and a propane tank in here somewhere. So now that I'm starting on the frame in the back, I'm got to start thinking of that, which immediately complicated everything. I thought the cab was gonna be the hard part, and it was, but now the frame extension and the subframe on top of the frame to hold all of the equipment is a whole nother ball game. Definitely be easier to put this on like a pickup truck, I guess, but wouldn't be as cool. I'm looking at this wheel well and I'm just like, could have extended the frame, but I really don't want to deal with all of the drive shaft issues, because then you got to get a custom drive shaft and they tend to vibrate even after they're balanced. And God forbid you bend one in the trails, because this will probably go where it shouldn't go. I just don't want those problems. The e-brake cable won't reach. The brake lines would have to be redone. You're changing the suspension's original geometry, although obviously I'm changing the entire truck here. The weight of the back of the Sunrader is actually not that heavy, although it has this 6-foot span. It's just a kitchen table, basically. It's all that's back there. All right, enough talking. Let's get to work. Bye, fender flare, you ugly thing. I'm going to save this fender flare because I know one of you guys need it. Okay, so this piece of plastic has become a brick. You know, it's funny, I'm not seeing any rivets here. Oh, there it is. That's the last rivet right here. Oh, there's a ghost opening a door. Thank you, ghost. Okay. All right, I could see my rivets. Okay, this should pop off. Oh, it's stuck in that rock hard liner. Jeez. Come on, let it go. Did I miss one? I don't think so. Oh, I did. It's one on the bottom. There we go. Now it should move. Yay, we got it. All right, now that I have the fender flare off, you can see the wheel well is actually humongous, because these trucks had 2 different wheelbases, a short wheelbase and a long wheelbase version. Even though they were only a couple inches, they did make a way longer wheelbase, which would have put it like way back here. That was on the 21 footers. But for these 18s, they fit them on Nissan trucks and they fit them on Toyota trucks, which changed the wheelbase a tiny bit. So they had a pretty large wheel well. I'm obviously going to modify the front of the wheel well here, this direction, kind of into the door a little bit, and then not as high because it's already got this big frame extension. So I'm gonna bring that wheel well down and it'll basically get an idea, something like that-ish. So let's see what we're working with. All right, first part of concern is my well. Obviously the wheel is gonna travel up and would run right into all of this. The floor is actually about here, which is great because as you can see, if the wheel well was shaped like so, I have plenty of wheel well. And I'm gonna arch it out. I'm simply gonna probably cap this with aluminum and then use behind the wheel well for storage, because I'm gonna have all this room that's gonna be open. I'm not sure yet. I gotta see where the weight sits and figure out the size tire I'm gonna run, because there's a lot of space underneath this that I've created that I wanna use for the equipment. Keep the center of gravity low and also utilize the space that already exists. Well, let me start marking this out and get an idea of where this wheel well is gonna sit. And that will give me an idea of how to build the subframe underneath it. Okay, so I figured out the height of the floor. Now I'm gonna cut the metal to the right height and start fitting it. Now that I have it all apart, I can see it a lot better. Now that the truck's in the air, body's moved a little farther back. The distance is from here to here, has to be made up. It's gonna come up like this, go over and have some body mounts on it. The original body mounts, I'm gonna cut off the chassis. I'm not gonna reuse those, but I am gonna reuse the rubber mount. This way, it is the way it was from the factory with the same amount of flex. If I put a harder rubber back here, obviously it's gonna tend to work the front a little more, which could crack my fiberglass. Don't wanna do that. So, we're gonna go ahead and make this guy now and lower this up and down here and see what comes of it. Okay, this is gonna be the first cut, and I have this goofy angle because another piece of channel is gonna fit over it, and I don't want it to just rest on the sides and weld, because I need the flat part of the channel facing up here, and the forked end facing down. So I'm leaving this guy in the middle. We're not cutting this. And it'll look like that. This way they fit together almost like a Lego, and it'll be plenty strong. On top of that whole design, once the body mount bracket is made, I'm going to be adding a pretty large U-piece shaped of steel like this. And this is going to sit against the body. This way it has all that strength sitting up against the floor. Underneath that will be the body mounts, so that the floor will really be held nice and tight. Probably gonna run some brackets across the floor, then up the side a little bit to really grab the glass. I want it to be very, very rigid to the body and all the movement on the chassis the way it's supposed to be. This one, I'm planning on going off-road as long as it fits. If it fits, it ships. So for me, I gotta build it a little bit different and a whole lot stronger. All right, let's cut these out and start jigging this up. That will fit like that. Bingo. All right, time to remove some of the old floor. Definitely want gloves for this. It's like this old rotted aluminum cover that is sharp from rot. Delicious. Jeez. Surprised how tight that is. It's so rotted, yet it's somehow hanging on. We'll leave that razor blade out there. Okay, the floor. Well, looks a little cleaner. Good. Easy to measure too. The floor is real bowed from the old framing just being inadequate, and the wood settling and the weight of whatever gear they're carrying and the moisture. It kind of made the floor bow. So I'm trying to fix that, and it's a bit challenging because I got to try to bring everything to the floor level, with the floor being about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch off per section. And then when I put the weight on it, it has to sit flat. So it's a bit of a brain work, to be honest. It's not like super hard. It's just a lot of thinking, and it's slowing me down a lot. You'll have that with these big jobs. So let me show you what I've done thus far. I got all these wings built that hold the body to it. You can see in here, this gap, that's the body. This is the door. This will have a filler piece that will cover all this. That's later. And on the mounts down here, kind of hard to see, but that's gonna be the brace that holds the floor. Here we have a nice little hole cut in the floor that I could see through, and you can see the stacking. The original floor is this piece here, and it's 2 inches of pieces of wood sandwiched between insulation, which is still in pretty good shape, and it's covered in fiberglass, so we're gonna reuse that. Then my 3/4 inch piece of pine, which is representing 3/4 plywood. The small piece of steel representing the brace that'll be under it. You can see some washers in there, and the original body mount sitting on top of the new frame piece. So that's what's going on with the frame. Now what I have to figure out is how to connect it from there and run it all the way out the back, which is 8 feet from the front. So it's kind of like an 8-foot bed now. Once that's done and it's set, I can remove the camper butt and make with all the welding, all the setup, all the mounts, all the painting, and figure out where my water tank, propane tank, and fuel tank are gonna go. All right, let's get with making this frame. Let's see what it's gonna look like. time has come to cut the rear frame. I'm cutting the lower half of the frame off because it's too low to the ground with the rake that I'm giving the camper. I want the camper to have a decent departure angle, and right now it doesn't. Plus, with 6 feet hanging past the rear axle, I want to get every inch I can. So I've designed a platform to go straight and then rake up, following the back of the camper right up to the tow hitch and the rear bumper, which will eventually wrap around, protecting the back of the camper, kind of like a little rock slider for the rear. Let me show you the frame I'm chopping off and the direction I hope this goes. So, right here you can see I've made some cuts, reliefs, so I could bend this upward, which I did. The rake is done, they're level, they both match side to side. I'm gonna plate this little guy. You can see the lower frame below it. This original chassis drops down right here and it goes down to a tow hitch. Great for the factory body, not so great for the not factory body. So what I'm going to do is cut this right here, maybe on an angle, maybe straight, maybe this way, I don't know yet. Cut that off, and then I'm going to run steel triangulated to about here, 17 inches past that. And then what that will do is it'll give it ridiculous support because it'll be a triangle right to here, and then I will simply brace between the two until I get to the back, which leaves me a heck of a spot right here for all kinds of equipment. Extra fuel capacity, maybe move the water tank back there. Not too sure on that yet, because there is going to be a tow hitch, which will be sufficient for towing and recovery and to hold the dirt bike. So I got to make it pretty dang strong. So far it's come out pretty good. I tried to lay it down onto it and it just simply pivoted right here and put the weight back here and started to do this. So that didn't work so well. So I got to finish this back section. So that's what I'm going to do now, is probably cut this rear frame off. I have to get this wiring harness out of here and get me some Sawzall blades because I've kind of killed all my blades. Okay, now that that's out of there, let's mark the frame. Now, which way am I going to cut you? I know I'm going to be heading towards the back of it, probably on about that much of a rake, actually a lot less, sorry, probably like that. So that means if I cut it 90 degrees to that angle, my piece of metal will sit boop, right flat against it. I think that's what I'll do. This way I can simply cap the frame and run straight off of it, and it'll look a lot cleaner and it'll keep dirt from getting in there. Plus, while it's open, I could suck out all the rust chips that are hanging out inside the frame rail. So we're gonna cut that at 21 degrees. Okay, so there's that. And then I will simply copy that on the other side. So let's go ahead and make with the Sawzall action. A little trick of the trade. If you're making an angle cut, don't try to start on that angle. You'll end up walking everywhere. Start straight down, and then once you have a groove, then turn for your angle. All right, now that's cut, let's cut the tailpipe off, and then we'll cut the other side. Okay, muffler's free. That's a nice one. It's a resonator, not a muffler, you idiot. Okay, we got 31 inches from the very back of the frame to the top of my cut. That's 31 right there in the back of the chassis. Make a little mark. Okay, there we go. Grab our speed square. And if I recollect correctly, I said 21.5 degrees. I'm sorry, 21 degrees, yeah. Mark that. Okay, we're ready to whack. Oh, move that. I'll be cutting the wiring harness in half. These Lexuses have way too many wires. Oh my gosh, I have a lot of wires. Okay, here we go. We're gonna cut this sucker right here. And I have to keep looking up. If you see me just keep looking up, it's not because the sky is falling. It's because I've hit my head so many times on this project because there's so many things hanging from it. Obviously, metal that don't need to be there. The whole camper is directly above me, and I can't move it, and I can't pull the truck out. So I'm working in literally 1 foot of space between the chassis I'm building and the top of the camper. So I've whacked myself on it a lot now. You know, kind of just part of the process, I guess. All right, let's cut this baby. Well, there she goes. Nice. All right, let's get this piece out of here. Here's my tools. I love that idea. Man, a marker is always what you need it. All right, and here we go. Wow, that's heavy. I'll tell you what, I must have taken 1,000 pounds off the back of the truck.
Oh, geez, that is heavy. Come on, buddy.
All right, check that out. We have open air experience. So this is pretty cool. The frame actually looks really nice. It had some rust in it, but nothing structural, which is good. That's actually how I got this Land Cruiser. It had become too rusty. Fortunately, I'm a welder. So now that this is cut out, I'm going to extend these. Whee! This is cool. It starts moving quick now. All right, I gotta cut these little edges off to connect my new frame extension all the way to here, past that and out the back, and then trim the body a little bit. I want that bumper nice and high. Work. I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I am beat. I have burns all over me and I got a whole lot of the frame done. So I'm gonna call it a day. I'm gonna take a shower. I'm gonna knock back some beers and I will see you in the next installment of the Lexus Sunrader.